We're in a new spot. But like I was saying, Richard Nixon in 1972 commissioned a report to see whether or not marijuana should be illegal and the reasons that it should be illegal. This report was filed and handed back to him, and it was titled the Schaefer Report. They concluded, more or less, that there shouldn't be any legal penalty to using, possessing, or growing marijuana, or hemp for that matter. But Nixon was so keen on his new war on drugs that he decided to go with it anyway and literally threw the Schaefer Report in the trash. I've actually read it, and it's true that they really found that there was no reason for it to be illegal. But since then, there has been a prohibition on marijuana, making it completely illegal for the most part, other than a few states, to own, use, or grow. And that leaves us with where we're at now. But where does that leave us now? I asked a handful of people some questions about marijuana, just general knowledge things and things that they've noticed on our college campus. And this is what they said. What do you think they are?
Well, I used to think that it killed your brain cells, but then I learned that it doesn't. It doesn't really do anything.
I think the dangers of smoking marijuana would be like, person would become really aggressive, and if the person is driving, really, that person is gonna really mess up, and kill someone, basically hurt someone, and it's just dangerous for people who are around the person who is smoking marijuana, and it's just not safe. It's not good for health. It's not good for anything, like, at all.
Good. What do you think the dangers of smoking marijuana are?
I think it's because it leads to other drugs and makes you not think about your decisions and your actions. I think the dangers of it are losing.
These are very common answers to this question, both in the responses that I got and the responses that were on the documentary that I watched. But not all of them are, well, actually none of them for the most part are correct. Marijuana actually does not kill brain cells. Many people, I'm sure, can remember a commercial that was an egg frying in a pan, and the announcer says, "You don't want this to be your brain," or "This is your brain on drugs." But it's simply not true, and it's based off of false information. Actually, it was a false study done in 1974 called the Heath-Tulin study. In this study, what the scientists said they were doing was administering 30 joints a day throughout the day and seeing how long it took for adverse effects to happen to the monkeys that they were administering it to. They were going to do this for a year, but they said after 90 days they found that monkeys' health began to deteriorate and many of them died around 90 days. However, there was a lot of questioners about the study because they didn't actually release the report of how they administered the marijuana. After 6 years of prying from a number of groups, they finally released what their actual procedures were, and what they did was administered 63 concentrated joints over 5 minutes through a gas mask on the monkeys. And it was after that, every day for 90 days, that they started to die. But all that was pumped through the mask was the marijuana smoke. When your body is deprived of oxygen, many things happen. Your muscles rely on oxygen to move. Also, your brain relies on oxygen to function. And when it has a lack of oxygen, this is called cerebral hypoxia. It kills brain cells. The brain cells cannot live without getting enough oxygen through the blood. And what happened was, without any extra air or oxygen being pumped into the mask, these monkeys had brain cells die. And they attributed those brain cells dying to the marijuana and neglected to say that it was actually due to lack of oxygen. How many people die each year from using marijuana alone?
None.
0, because of the other stuff they do.
0.
0.
Not many, probably.
Ooh. I bet quite a lot of people.
Number?
Maybe 1,000, like 100,000.
Okay, people did a lot better on this question, except for the last one. But for the most part, they're all right. Year to year, there's 0 records saying that people die from marijuana use alone. You can't find any one case. But there are plenty of other illegal drugs that kill many people. It's pretty commonly known that one of the biggest killers in the country, and up until a couple years ago, it was the #1 killer, cigarettes. Alcohol comes in third. Well, now it's third, with around 80,000 deaths per year, and we hear about these deaths all the time on the news. I don't think there's any non-violent death due to alcohol I've ever seen on TV. There's even other things like caffeine and over-the-counter painkillers, things that we use every day for the most part, and those even kill more people per year than marijuana does. What do you think is more harmful on campus, marijuana or alcohol?
Definitely marijuana.
Alcohol. Definitely alcohol.
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 Why?
Because you have to get alcohol poisoning and get your stomach pumped and leads to more reckless decisions than I think pot does.
I feel like you have less control when you are under the influence of alcohol as opposed to pot.
There's obviously no right or wrong answer to this question, but other than the first answer, the first response, mostly what I hear from on campus is pretty consistent, that alcohol causes more damage than marijuana. My dorm is right next to the hospital, so I hear plenty of ambulances leaving. But I've even heard stories and seen ambulances cross the parking lot to a dorm right next to the hospital to pick up someone who has alcohol poisoning. But I've never, ever heard a story of someone having to be rushed to the hospital because they smoked too much dope or ate too many brownies. Sometimes people cook marijuana into baked goods, if you didn't know. Never heard of any horror story like that. So I just don't understand why it would be legal to have alcohol, which obviously causes a lot of damage, and how marijuana isn't legal and causes less damage. Seems awfully fishy and kind of contradictory to me. So I realize that this video has run on a little too long, but I'm going to give you my opinion real quick. I feel that marijuana was made illegal on false facts and some immoral decisions or some immoral reasons. I think the solution is to legalize marijuana, regulate it, and tax the hell out of it. It's pretty much like we do alcohol. The marijuana industry is estimated to be a $36 billion industry. If we were to cut that price in half, $18 billion, then tax that price by half of that, we're making almost $9 billion on taxes. And God knows the government could use all the money it could use or can get. Other than that, I would just say check out the documentary, or the link to the documentary I'm going to put in the thing below here. They'd say all this information much better than I do and offer a hell of a lot more information than I can in 15-ish minutes. So I hope you learned a little bit of something. At the very least, like I said, check out the video. It'll help a lot more. Thanks for listening.